process of milling lumber involves 3 different machines and a very specific order of operations that can be summarized by the acronym FEE, F-E-E. That refers to the order in which we're going to process the different parts of our board. So the faces are here, the edges are here, and the ends are here. So we're starting with the faces, we move to the edges, and then we do the ends at the end. So we have to do it in this order because of the limitations and capabilities of the machines we're working on. We know that machines have to use their reference surfaces to guide the wood through whatever they're doing to the wood. And we have to provide a flat, square face on that reference surface in order to get that done properly. So in milling, at each step, we're preparing the wood for the next machine. We're creating a flat or square edge or face for the next machine to reference off of. Now you may be wondering, how in the world are we going to get this done? We have a rough board that doesn't have any flat square surface on it, and if all the machines require that against their reference surface, how are we going to begin? Well, the jointer is designed to do just that, and that is why we have to start on the joiner to join our first face. How does the joiner work? Okay, let's review. We've got an in-feed table, an out-feed table. We pass the board over the blades, end up on the out-feed table. Now the way this works is the blades are set up to be parallel with the out-feed table. So essentially you're passing a board along the in-feed table, which is slightly lower than the blades and the out-feed table. You're skimming off a little bit, ending up at that new level on the out-feed table. That makes the jointer the only tool that is capable of taking off that first face and making it flat. Its reference surface is the one we're ending up on after the board is skimmed. We're never going to use our hands on this tool. Always use a push stick, push pad on the front. The push stick has a little heel on it that will grab the back of the board very securely, giving us a very controlled way to pass this board over the blade. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, some of the board got skimmed and some didn't. That means we have to do another pass. The whole thing leveled and we're ready for the next step. One thing you'll notice is I'm not changing the depth of cut at any point in this operation. It's always going to be that same amount that we're skimming off. So unlike other tools where we might change the height progressively, we're keeping this one the same. Okay, one face of our board is completely flat and jointed. Now we can move on to its opposite face. For that, we have to go to another machine, the planer. So the planer's reference surface is its bed. And similar to the jointer, it has a spinning cylinder of blades in the middle. And as we pass under it, it skims off a tiny amount. Referencing off of the bottom face, it makes the top face parallel and also flat to the first face. So that's the goal of the planer. Now at this point you may be wondering, why didn't I just flip this board upside down on the joiner and do its other face there? Well, that will make the rough face flat. It will not necessarily make it parallel. So imagine if this board has varying thickness, like a shingle from one end to the other. And I pass it over the joiner on one side and then on the other side. Yes, they both will be flat, but I'm going to end up with a board that is tapered. And so the goal here is not necessarily only to make it flat, it is also to make it parallel. And so the only machine that can do that is the planer. Okay, let's pass it through the planer and get the other face done. Half a turn. Okay, step one is done. We have flattened the faces and made them parallel using the joiner and the planer. Now we're on to edges. Okay, we're on edges. Now on the first edge, it's similar how we did the faces. The first edge we have to do on another machine. We're back to the jointer for this. The joiner, the way that it works, it also, in addition to the bed, has a back fence, and that is our reference surface in this case. Our goal here is to keep the face, the freshly jointed face that we have, up against the fence. The fence is set 90 degrees to the bed. Let's check that. Yes, it looks good. And when we pass the edge over the blades, we're skimming off that same little amount that we did with the face, except now we're taking it off the edge, and in the process we're taking off material, flattening it, but we are also making it 90 degrees to the face by having it pressed flush up against the back fence. Okay, let's go ahead and joint this edge. We'll unlock the fence and bring it forward, lock it back in place. I'm going to use a nice strong grip to keep it against the back fence as I pass it over, and we'll skim off that edge. Alright, well, it looks pretty good, but there's no way to really know unless you check it with the square. So that's always worthwhile to take your square and do a couple spot checks looking down the face to see if in fact it is a 90-degree angle with the edge. Okay, that worked like a charm. We've got a nice 90-degree edge to these two parallel faces. We're now on edge number 2, and again we need to go to another machine. So this is similar to what we were talking about with the faces on the planer. Just because we have one edge that is 90 degrees to these faces, if we run the other edge over on the joiner, it will make it 90 degrees, but it will not necessarily make it parallel with the other edge. So again, this board, we can't assume that these are parallel, could be tapered in some way. So we have to go to another machine to accomplish cleaning up this edge, making it 90 degrees as well as parallel with the other edge. The only machine that is capable of doing that due to its reference surfaces is the table saw. Okay, we're on our second edge. We're at the table saw. The only way to accomplish getting this edge both parallel and square to the faces is by doing a rip cut on the table saw. By referencing off of the rip fence with our good clean edge that we just made on the joiner, we are going to make a parallel cut in the rough edge, as well as making it 90 degrees at the same time. Okay, we're almost done. We've done the faces, we've done the edges, and if you've been paying attention, you understand why we had to wait till the very end to square up these ends. It's because we needed the edge to reference off of on either a table saw sled on the back fence or on the back fence of a chop saw in order to make these ends nice and square. So that's pretty much it. Now, we skipped over a lot of machine setup and actual techniques in this video, and that's because we have other videos that cover that in detail. So if you have questions about that or want to review it, go look at those other videos on using the joiner, using the planer, using the table saw, and the chop saw to review safety, operation, and setup of those machines.